I'm back. Still here. Still alive. I know you're worried, but worry no more, because I've returned. I've done many things. I had to take a little break from the internet because the bleeps and bloops were getting to my head, as I'm sure you know. But in the meantime, I did many an exciting thing. Number one, I took a train all the way across America for a full month. And it was so fun. I don't know if you've been to America before, but it's a cool place. I mean, I wouldn't want to live there forever, but it was great. It was super fun. If you go to my website, www.janeoskowski.com, you can read a whole bunch of little poems that I wrote about America, and you can also find on my website a real-life book that you can read for sale for $10 from my website. Check this out. It's a novella, so you know, shorter than a novel for the 21st century attention span. And it's very beautiful. My friends are graphic designers, and they designed the shit out of this to make it look amazing. And to give you a little taste of what this book's about, I'm going to read the first opening beginning. I think it's just called the opening. Part 1, the book. It's called The Best and Most Beautiful. I should give you a background story. It's a true story based on a trip that my friend and I took to Dublin. We drank all the alcohol, met every person in the whole city, and were basically the most glamorous women in the world. It was a fabulous trip. So fabulous that I decided that I'd write a little book about it. The Best and Most Beautiful. Prologue and Thursday. That whole summer, it felt like my blood was made of light. My heart kept flashing, shooting this pure white energy through my veins. I was 23. I had finished university the previous spring with a degree in creative writing and no plans for the future. I'd worked until January when I'd saved enough money to move to Edinburgh for a year for no particular reason. Or at least that's what I'd started telling people to make them think that I was courageous and interesting. So, why did you move to Scotland, they would ask. Why not? I didn't have anything else to do, I would answer. And they would imagine me in a leather jacket and sunglasses, nonchalantly getting off a motorcycle and onto a plane, texting my friends and family before takeoff. I'm moving to Scotland for a bit. BRB. I decided my Scottish self would be more confident, more charming, cooler, and more career-oriented than my Canadian self. I got a job as a cleaner in a bookstore and spent my first 5 months watching reality television and drinking whiskey alone in the room I lived in illegally. But then summer came. The fog and cold and whiskey haze was burnt up by the weak Scottish sun, and I remembered that I may have entered this unknown land with one suitcase and one backpack, but I was going to leave it with the still beating heart of every man, woman, and child in a string around my neck. I kept telling people that every day I was slightly prettier than the day before. Being Canadian made everyone instantly like me as a non-American, but still allowed me to use my continent's bad reputation to arrive at parties drunk and uninvited, to ask everyone I met on a date, and to say things like, "My plan is to be the best writer ever. Fuck Hemingway, fuck Shakespeare. One day I'll write better stuff than them. I feel like I'm already a better writer than they are." The damp Scottish wind turned my brown hair enormous and curly. I could barely afford food, so I was thinner than ever, and everyone I met was in love with me. I chose 3 guys to date and continued relationships with all of them when I felt like it. I usually didn't even date guys, and now I was dating 3 of them, and Peach, my best writer friend, was coming from Toronto, and we were going to go to Dublin together. Peach got to Edinburgh on Wednesday, and we sat drinking beer in the park near my flat. I kept looking at her and saying, "I'm so glad you're here. I can't believe you're actually here." "I know," she says. "It doesn't feel like we're on the other side of the world." She was right. Looking at her, it was like when you're little and you cut a person out of one magazine picture and glue them into another. This is a picture of Queen Elizabeth on Mars. This is a picture of Peach in Scotland. When I looked at her closely, I could almost see the bits of her jagged outline, parts of Canada left to be cut away. Could you have imagined when we first met that 3 years later we'd be in a park in Edinburgh, drinking beer and watching the sunset, getting ready to move to Dublin tomorrow morning? "Maybe," said Peach. "I liked you from that first day in poetry class when you read that poem about a girl turning into a whale. And then we waited in line for over an hour to get free hamburgers, and we talked about how much we loved brie cheese the whole time. We were on a bench by the tennis courts. The bench was dedicated to a 9-year-old who had died, and behind us we could hear the pop and thwack of green tennis balls hit by rackets. I opened Peach another beer and traded her for her empty bottle. I don't know why it was always a 9-year-old's bench I got drunk on. It wasn't the closest to my house. It was next to a garbage can and looked out onto a section of the field that always flooded. Peach peeled the label off her beer and read it aloud. Beer d'Or. Very fancy, imported from France, the highest quality, I told her. And you bought this at the grocery store? It's ridiculously cheap, and you can drink on the streets here. Are we in Narnia? Yes, I told her. We found Neverland. We're through the looking glass. This is A Wrinkle in Time. We watched the sun sink behind a church older than Canada. I don't know if it's such a good idea to have beer this cheap, though, I told Peach. I feel like I'm going to die a few years earlier because of this summer. I haven't been sleeping or eating. We had both been cut out and pasted into this new place, and I was afraid that the glue wasn't sticking as well as it should. The wind picked up, and I felt bits of me get lifted and carried away. I know what you mean, Peach said. I've been stumbling home drunk every weekend since I moved to Toronto. My neighbors think I'm so sketchy. I'm pretty sure they were talking about me the other day. Good, I told her. We could be tragic, beautiful, alcoholic artists together, like in all the books. At least I'm writing a lot, she said. I'm doing my reading series, and go to a lot of literary events. She leaned her head on my shoulder and put her arm around me. It was cold now that the sun had set, and the heat from her body pressed into me like she was my mother. I didn't sleep that night. We went to a bar after the park, and I don't know what time we got home. When we did get back, it was me and Peach sharing my futon mattress. It sagged so much in the center that I'd spent every night for the past 7 months holding onto my bed frame to keep from being swallowed. I didn't have money for blankets, so I slept with my sleeping bag safety pinned into the duvet cover. So, that's the opening of The Best and Most Beautiful. If you'd like to hear more, you can tune in next week where I'll read a little bit more, or you can go to my website and pick up a copy for yourself. I'll even sign it for you if you want me to. Thanks so much for watching, and have a wonderful week.